September 11th, 2001. And as the 9/11 Commission put out its report on what happened that day, CBS's Richard Schlesinger went back to ground zero to look at what's happened since then here in New York City.
It's hard to tell what happened here, except there are those memories.
It affects us all. It's very tragic.
Today, Ground Zero has been cleaned up. One former city official said sanitized, and it's now a tourist attraction.
You're coming to Manhattan, you've got to come to the World Trade Center.
New York City looks a little different now. The skyline looks emptier, the police look scarier, but look around. A lot of the attitude is the same.
It's really recovered remarkably, given what it went through on September 11th, and I think it's emerged a stronger city.
You don't think people around here are on edge?
Oh, look at them.
Almost 3 years at threat level orange, which never changes here, has colored the way New Yorkers look at what happened and what could happen again.
Nobody's relaxed about it, but I think they take it in stride. They take it as part of what goes along with being the most famous, most popular city in the world.
A bullseye on the back has become part of this city's uniform. All the elevated threats, all the new warnings, all mention New York as a prime target. It's a lot to get used to, but a lot of New Yorkers have, and a lot of visitors have as well.
And they would say, we're coming here to show the terrorists that you can't really stop us. Sometimes they'd even use profanity.
In New York,
we came here to show the terrorists, and then they say, you can imagine.
567 pages of commission report answered some questions and warned again of the danger. But the city that never sleeps knows what a wake-up call feels like. Has tossed and turned, fought back the nightmares, and for now at least, is back in business. Richard Schlesinger, CBS News, New York.
Members of the 9/11 Commission say the goal of their report is to prevent future attacks, and they make it very clear there is a threat of another al-Qaeda attack on America. National Security Correspondent David Martin has more on that.
For all we know now that we didn't know then, for all the holes that have been plugged in America's defenses, could it, will it happen again?
Every expert with whom we spoke told us an attack of even greater magnitude is now possible and even probable.
How can that be if 2/3 of al-Qaeda's leadership is dead or captured? Especially Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the unquestioned brains behind what he called the planes operation. Another al-Qaeda operative has told the CIA, we can never replace him. According to KSM, 9/11 only cost $400,000. So the fact that al-Qaeda's finances are drying up won't preclude another attack. He also says he began planning the attacks nearly 3 years before 9/11. So he could have set another plot in motion before he was captured. And if 9/11 is any indicator, the CIA could be onto the plot and not even know it. U.S. intelligence was eavesdropping on cell phones used by some of the plotters, including KSM himself. But they used double talk, pretending to be students discussing their courses, referring to the World Trade Center as architecture, the Pentagon as law, and the White House as politics. The CIA couldn't figure it out. The next plot may not be as sophisticated as 9/11, but with formulas for chemical bombs available on the internet, it could still be catastrophic. Osama bin Laden and his al-Qaeda organization are badly damaged, perhaps mortally wounded, but they are determined to go down fighting. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
Former President Bill Clinton praised the 9/11 Commission's report for its focus on the future. Clinton commented during a book signing in Coral Gables, Florida.
I think they did a good job. They worked really hard. They tried to come to grips with what happened and what the problems are. And I would like to see Congress take up these recommendations right away.
Democratic presidential candidate John Kerry says that while, quote, this is not the time for politics, the 9/11 report shows that intelligence is hampered by what he called an ongoing war within the administration. He did not single out President Bush for the blame. In his interview with CBS's Dan Rather this week, Kerry said he wants to run a positive campaign, but is perfectly willing to be critical of himself.
I regret some of the early things I did in politics, which weren't very smart. I've learned from them.
Regret the anti-war movement leadership?
No, not in the least. Very proud of it.
People say, look, John Kerry's a war hero, and the record shows that you are. But can you be a war hero and be a leader of an anti-war movement?
I was.
And you're proud of that?
That I am.
Make any mistakes in that regard?
Yes. Some language that I used, I've said before, I think was a little, it was reflective of a young man who was angry, a young man who felt disappointed by our own government leaders who had lied to us. I regret that I wasn't, perhaps more tuned in to how something I said might affect somebody. But you learn. That's the beauty of life.
Speaking of anger, have you ever had any anger about President Bush, who spent his time during the Vietnam War in the National Guard, running an effective campaign that does its best to diminish your service in Vietnam? You have to be at least irritated by that, or have you been?
Yep, I have been. That's an honest answer. Those of us who served care enormously about the people we served with and the fact of our having put our lives on the line. And I think when others challenge that, you'd be inhuman if it didn't grate a little bit. But again, I keep my eye on a larger target. I'm running to be president of the United States because I believe in this country. And I think the American people can see through those kinds of things. So hold my breath and put my trust in the American people to look for something bigger and better than that kind of silly attack. But it does irritate, sure.
Kerry picked up the support of his last remaining rival for the Democratic presidential nomination yesterday.
I intend to reach out on behalf of the Kerry Edwards ticket to unite our party with all those who may have felt left out. I will let them know that the time has come to unite in a common effort for change, which is essential, not only for America, but for the world. John Kerry can win.
Dennis Kucinich had used his long-shot candidacy to speak out against the war in Iraq and free trade agreements. He also supported issues that Ralph Nader is known for, such as universal health care and civil liberties. Kucinich is asking Nader supporters to back the Kerry Edwards ticket. There's more news ahead. This is CBS News Up to the Minute.